I feel compelled to say, because we have so many of them with us today, I just want to thank our Board of Trustees. As I stepped up to this pulpit yesterday to lead a celebration of life for a beloved member, my eyes filled, as they just did again, because it's still so wonderful to have people here. We had people in the sanctuary, on the patio, and online, as we do today, and maybe even someone in Borton Hall. This afternoon, we will do so again. And to see these chairs filled as we laughed with the joys of remembrances and cried together at the reality of loss, it's just something that really is so important in this time. My sense of safety and normalcy began to climb up, 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 up. And I needed that, because just after dawn yesterday morning, I went to the grocery store and there was a man lying next to the entrance, lying down next to the entrance. He was playing his phone's speaker at top volume, broadcasting a discussion, some kind of panel, about the conspiracy to eliminate the U.S. through a COVID vaccine, which causes sterility in children and is designed to eliminate especially Christians. I felt, at the beginning of my day yesterday, fear, and my sense of safety went down quickly, plummeting, as I stepped past this likely unvaccinated human being who still had worth and dignity that I was trying to hold. A day before, I had come home after a very long day to find that a former student in one of my preaching classes had sent me a little chalice that she had crocheted out of yarn and seed beads. It's like this big, and it comes in a little felt pouch with my name embroidered on it. And I felt joy and power and the climb of safety again as I went up, 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 up. Because I know that this comes from a person who has known some hard times. And so that was really a gift that had a lot of power in it. In her heartbreaking and perceptive book, Legacy, Canadian Indigenous author Suzanne Methot reminds us the need for safety is just above the need for physiological basic needs in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety is needed before actually we can pursue our desires for love and belonging and all those other needs that come above it in that hierarchy. And so safety, of course, is on our minds all the time right now, all the time. Yet we often, I think of it in terms of our physical safety and how we can maintain our health, which is, of course, so important. Methot, though, shared something that is a little-known fact, that Maslow's model was actually developed after he spent some considerable time with the Siksika First Nations people in Canada, and that the hierarchy's familiar triangle shape that many of us have seen, not all of us, but many of us, might actually be seen as a teepee, in which case, perhaps, she says, the elements underneath it are less hierarchical and more like the cyclical movement of a medicine wheel. An interesting thing to think about. And as the summer's heartbreaking revelations around Indian schools has revealed, our spirits also need to be held and cared for. And we need to continue to remember that as we go about the daily mental calculations that we have to do around risk, physical risk. We should also factor in some time to think about our spiritual health and safety. We can learn a lot from those who've already known what it's like to live in a world where safety must always be considered, like the people of the First Nations in Canada, where Methot is from. We all know now what oppressed people have long known, that perfect safety is a myth. And still, we must be called to do what we can, make the choices we can. And as we do that, we're on this roller coaster ride, up and down and up and down and up and down. Anyone else know this? Yeah? Okay. I'm seeing some heads nod here. Maybe some of you are nodding at home. But sometimes we feel that long, slow climb into feeling kind of okay about things, and then we can suddenly plummet down, like I did yesterday morning going to the grocery store, right? As long as we keep working to keep ourselves, in shape, then we will be okay, we say. Just as we kept working through these last couple hard years to stay physically fit, I think that we need to think about how we keep our spiritual immunity high as well. As much as we ponder whether we should take that third shot, let's also consider what we're doing to keep our spirits strong. Methought reminds us that in her tradition, the medicine wheel is not just a simple thing. It's a complex, multi-layered framework with 4 quadrants that are used to note many different kinds of things. At the first layer, there's wisdom, knowledge, awareness, and understanding. And at the third level, one that I want to talk about today, intellectual, spiritual, physical, and emotional. As we navigate these ups and downs, we have many resources, she reminds us. Our spirits do need a few things. One thing they need is a sense of connection to something larger than our own worries, as real as they may be, and a chance to unburden our hearts with people that we feel are sympathetic to us. A feeling that we can make a difference also helps boost our spirit, even if it's just a little thing, like trying to do something else that's beyond our own frame. And sometimes when we're most tired, what we need, as we know that sometimes when we're most tired, we just need to take that extra effort to do that little bit of yoga or go for that walk, because it actually renews us and gives us more energy, and then suddenly we're not quite as tired. Sometimes when we're feeling particularly down on the spiritual roller coaster, we might need to take the time to do some small act to reach out to someone in our community, to act to live our values, or to come to that short meditation or Vespers that might actually let us check in with how we're doing in our spiritual health. We have lost many things in these last 19, almost 20 months. And one of them is the skills of connection, connecting to things that are larger than us and connecting to one another. So as I mentioned in our announcements, please watch as we kick off some new opportunities for you to connect, to re-engage in the spiritual work of connection and mutual witness. In a time when a simple act of going to the grocery store to pick up just a roll of aluminum foil becomes fraught, or a time when you have to think about the fact that you ask someone to go have dinner with you at a restaurant, and now you have to make sure that your assumption that they want to eat outside is okay. Or when you realize that when you ask a beloved child how school is going, you don't care as much about French class as you care about how many cases there have been in their school. In these times, we need to tend to our spiritual health. We need to remember to do those things that help us go up on that long, slow climb, even if sometimes we will be plummeted emotionally and spiritually. And I want to be clear about this. I am not a big fan of roller coasters. In fact, I hate them. Hate them, as my family well knows. But what I've learned about them is that if I have to go on them, like being a good sport about things, which I no longer feel I need to do, but I did at one point in my life, the best way to do is to relax into them. The worst thing to do is to grip everything and be incredibly tense, because when that plummet comes, it could not be more painful. Now, though like I said, I don't plan to go on any more roller coasters because my grandchild has parents, uncles, and aunts who can all do that with them. I will know that I would found it less disagreeable when I used the meditation technique I still use for dental work, which is all about relaxing and focusing on inner beauties and that larger frame which holds what I cannot. We will be going up and down, my friends, as we go through these weeks. We will. And if we can allow ourselves to also see beauty and perceive what is joyous, that will help. It will help if we feel like there are others who know about our struggles. And the truth is that the long climb on the roller coaster takes more time than that short decline. So we can savor the times of calm and peace, which is something that we actually relearned during our shelter time and something we can carry forward. Physical safety is about deciding, as Reverend Rodney says, where to spend our risk dollars. Intellectual safety may also be about that, limiting ourselves to a moderate portion of the news. Emotional safety may be about pushing aside our survivor's guilt and taking a moment to do something we really want to do. And spiritual safety may be found somewhere in the beauty of the morning stars, or in connections with another person, sincere conversations, and the opportunity to do those things that remind us that we are not responsible for everything that happens in this world. Having all these resources will make this roller coaster easier to bear. If we think about community safety as our most sacred thing, then we will be making decisions out of a frame that aids community and makes it a high value for us to ensure that as many people as possible in the community have access to what we do. And if we think about that, it'll make it easier for us to sometimes do things that were not our first preference, but which we know allow us to live into our deepest values and to see that far horizon. We can take a lesson from those who have long known what it's like to live in a world where the traumatic and the beauteous live side by side. Perfect safety is a myth, and yet doing in good faith those things we can is to keep us as individuals and our community safe matter. Today, as we connect in a few minutes with one another after this service, whether it's on the patio or on the Zoom screen, let's share what brought our spirits joy this week. I have been finding myself working late again, I'll admit it, so I'll share what mine will be. And that's that in the evening, I get to watch the deer doing their evening zoomies all across the hillside out there. It's quite spectacular. And then yesterday, when I went to make one more last scan for the evening, our peahen was blocking the door because she just needed someone to talk to her for a few minutes. So I stopped and did that too. Okay, those are my shares. That's my joy. A little more celebration in song and music together, and then it's your turn. Go.